Welcome to the Principal Podcast, where we talk about how the best professional services firms grow. Whether you're looking to scale your firm or learn from the stories of founders and leaders who've done it, you're in the right place. Join us as we interview the best leaders in professional services. Let's get on with the show. Dan, welcome to the Principal Podcast. Happy to have you.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
It is my pleasure. Let's jump straight into it. What's the story, Dan? What got you into professional services and specifically the SAP ecosystem?
I started in the SAP. I started in the general IT consulting services business back in the mid '80s, and within a couple of years, made the decision that SAP was where I thought I probably started for sure in SAP. About 5 years later, 92-ish, sent a dozen people to the SAP Partner Academy. And from there, I was hooked. It was enterprise resource planning software that was going to, I felt like, be the next big thing coming. And sure enough, it did become the next big thing. So I've been doing the SAP consulting since 92 and still doing the same thing.
Definitely betting on the right horse here. Tell me more about the problem that you solve now. Like, what is it that you help people achieve exactly with your firm?
Well, SAP has changed significantly over the years. They've gone from everything is on premise, everything is by module. So I don't know what you know about it, but there's sales and distribution, there's finance and controlling, there's human resources. They have modules for every single possible application that any industry would utilize. And so they've built these modules that all are connected together, and they serve any industry's needs, whatever it is. And it's the largest ERP software in the world without question. What's happened recently is what makes it unique is that now you have AI in the mix, and you have the technology has changed so dramatically that the way that SAP processes and operates, it's incredible compared to where it was when I started, for sure. So SAP today has more to offer any organization of pretty much any size. I mean, you're not going to be selling this to a company that does $100,000 in revenue, but any size company that needs something that is all integrated throughout their entity, SAP's got a solution for it.
And so would you say that this is the problem that you help solving? You help your clients adopt smoothly and adapt smoothly to all the SAP changes? Is that
well, okay. I'll be more. I'm sorry. I'll help answer that a little better.
No, you're good. You're good.
What we do is we're a consulting organization. We can sell the software, but we're predominantly a consulting company that goes in and helps solve their problems for. They maybe want to implement a new module, a new tool that SAP has, or they maybe want to, maybe they use a lot of middleware and they want to use SAP's integration suite to receive orders because they're, via EDI, or it doesn't matter what it is. We cover the entire landscape for SAP services in a very broad way, in a very specific way. The broad way is pretty much anything that SAP sells. All right, we have consulting capability around that. So we do projects where we help them enhance the software. We help them to streamline it, make it more efficient. At the end of the day, the customers out there today want their systems to work effectively for them. All right, and that's what we do for them. We go in, we do, like one of the services we provide is AI readiness. Okay, well, we just signed an SOW for a project this week where, the company wants to use AI. They don't know where to begin. They don't know where to start, but they definitely want to use it to improve their system. I mean, the way they do business. And so we're a consulting company that solves any problem that they have for the most part. We're not doctors of everything, but for the most part, if they have an issue with SAP, we can help them.
Who do you do that for, Dan? Because so I was fact checking you live during this interview. I mean, I am fact checking you live, and I was like, who is the largest ERP software company in the world? And Gemini indeed came up with SAP. So you're right, and it also says that it's the best fit is for Fortune 500, right? So is it who you serve? Is it smaller companies? Who is it that you work with typically?
I believe that I think there's a statistic that says that SAP is the ERP solution for. I think it's irrelevant to me, but I mean I think I'm right that it's like 70 of the top 100 companies in the world use SAP. But it's not just for the Fortune 500 companies. They over the last, I'm going to say 5 years, SAP has come out with new approach and new technology that is made for more of the mid-size or what they would call the corporate space. And so you have companies that are, a couple $100 million up to a couple of billion that's going to fill that space that typically wouldn't have been on the charts for focus from SAP as a target because they weren't the big boys. Okay, but today, as an example of why that's important, so typically when someone has purchased SAP and began to use it as their solution, there's a lot of implementation. It's a big implementation, and in the past, it's been a lot of customization. Well, what they've come out with recently is that they have pre-built all of the modules inside one solution that it's out of the box. It's called fit to standard. So as long as a company is willing to embrace the way that SAP and their 50 years of data and 50 years of experience with customers utilize the software as best practices, then somebody can utilize this solution and it can be implemented very quickly compared to a long drawn out and super expensive implementation. So it really appeals today to really any size company. I'm not talking about like I said earlier, $5 million a year company. They're not going to afford it. They're not going to be interested in it. But, really I know companies at $50 million that are using SAP. So it's really for everybody today.
I love LLMs. So I've asked Gemini, Claude, and ChatGPT how many of the top 100 companies, so Fortune 100 companies, were using SAP. And you're right, 70% of them are actually using it as their core ERP. But numbers vary between 80 and 99% when it comes to as one of the major enterprise platform or just as one of their products, like ERP, HR, procurement, analytics, supply chain. So it is huge. In your case, Dan, who is it that you help specifically? Are they going to be more like the $50 million a year companies, the Fortune 100? Do you have a specific niche? Like, who do you end up working with?
So we have our company split in half. We've been doing this time around 19 years. And so we have customers that are in the top 25 of the Fortune 500 that we do SOW work for them. We do projects because we've been working with them for a long time. Then we have customers that are the focus for them is new. They haven't been a mature SAP customer for a long time, and so we're implementing for them new technology that SAP has that they want to benefit from, and the hot topic is Joule and Joule Studio, which is SAP's AI solution. And I just came back from Montreal last week from a boot camp of that's fresh out of the Sapphire, which just happened not too long ago, that they refer to the autonomous enterprise. And it's bringing all the data, bringing all of the technology, bringing everything together that can benefit any size company with the exception of the really much smaller. And so we have on one side of the company, we are providing those projects to very, very large enterprise companies. On the other side, we're a sell partner, and so we can sell. And our focus is the public cloud and a product called BTP, as well as BDC, Business Data Cloud. That's SAP's hottest. What they're pushing today is it's the hottest technology they've got, and that is our focus on the other side of the company when it comes to selling the software and implementing that sort of thing. So we're diverse. We cover. We fashion ourselves as a boutique. We're underneath the really big SIs on purpose because of our approach and our style, but we still support any of those, whether it's an enterprise company in that top 100 or whether it's the newer companies that are, say, the 250 million to 2 billion. We do both.
Love it. So I have so many follow-up questions on this. Before we get there, who is the person that decides to hire you guys to help them with their SAP implementation, updating, implementation of new module, whatever it is, or even integrating AI properly in their processes? Who do you then need to talk to in order to sign business for the firm?
Well, if it's at the enterprise level, if it's those top 100 that we've referenced, it's going to be a director level. It's going to be somebody that is responsible for, typically they can bring us in, say, the director of supply chain management or the director of finance. It can be anybody that's a director level. When you get down into the still very large companies, but smaller than the say the top 250, it's typically going to be a CFO, CTO, CIO. One of those C-level executives is going to ultimately make the decision to bring us in. And then the smaller companies, we deal with owners and the president and the EVPs and that sort of thing. So it's going to be someone with decision-making capability. But the bigger the company, the smaller the title. I mean, we're not dealing with the CEO of Exxon, but we could be very well dealing with a CEO of a $500 million a year company.
And that makes 100% sense. When I was working at PwC for their one of their clients' treasury transformation, they were rolling out SAP S/4HANA at the same time. CFO was in charge of that project, the main sponsor, and obviously the one moving the needle, like $2-3 billion a year company. The thing is that to get in front of a director of a Fortune 250 company versus getting in front of a C-suite executive of a large enterprise versus getting in front of the owner or the EVP of a small business, the strategy is radically different, right? So what has worked for you then to brand, market, and get in front of the right people so you can start discussing their needs when it comes to SAP? I'm not talking about sales just yet, right? But really like branding and lead gen. What has worked for you given you have so many different avatars?
Two different paths. The first is we have very good relationships with SAP. The VP, some of the VPs, some of the solution managers, some of the what they call CSMs that we have weekly or biweekly cadence calls with, that they know us, they trust us, and when there's an opportunity with one of their customers, they will ask us, can you jump in and help here? Which we do. So SAP themselves and the relationship that we have with them is a big avenue for us. The other is, if you looked at our website, you'd see I personally have hosted many podcasts and /webinars with people from SAP, with customers of ours, and we use that to provide a feel and an attitude about what kind of company we are and what we're capable of. And I'm talking to someone over there that can provide a testimonial of what we do. We've got a testimonial on the SAP's website currently today talking about the success that we brought to them that was going to save them. They couldn't publicly say it, but they said it's going to save them $500,000 a year what we did for them, and moving them off of one particular third-party software over to SAP's integration suite. So we use traditional methods of reaching people and getting a hold of people, which is everything from certainly email campaigns, but it's the old-fashioned hard work of picking up the phone and calling people. But fortunately for us, we have great relationships with SAP and that community and the leaders there that promote us and sponsor us. And so it's a combination of a little bit of everything.
Absolutely massive. I mean, if you have a testimonial from a client on the SAP's website, I see how that can move the needle. If you don't mind me probing a bit here, then, so we see that often, right, in consulting practices that have basically a super strong partnership with a big system vendor that they are one of the renowned and partners, implementator or like consultants. But that feels to me like this is relying on SAP, right? So that's the first big channel. You said you had two. So what's pardon me if I missed it, but what's the second channel that gets you in front of the right people? And is it less reliant on SAP? How do you think about that?
The second was that we've got podcasts on our website that I host with
Yes.
either a customer or an SAP person or whoever it might be that I've talked to about particular topics that are relevant to our prospect base and our customer base. So we have that as content on our website that people can look at, and giving the prospect a little bit of a feeling of what we're all about, and hearing from somebody on the other end that has done business with us that can testify to what kind of job we do. So that's the second thing. Those are the primary two things, along, and the third being just the additional sales approach of everything that you would use to try to reach your buyer.
Love it. Makes a lot of sense. So I don't often talk about podcasts on this podcast because I want to make it focused on the guest. And here, obviously, you share whatever you're comfortable with, right? But why deciding on the podcast format specifically? Like, what's motivated you to, and you guys, right, at IT Services too, to go down the podcast route? How did you make it work? What makes you stay consistent with it as well, right? Because this is one of the main challenges. Can you tell us a bit more about that?
And make sure I'm clear. You want to know why I went down the podcast route? Okay.
Yeah, as a way to put content out there, build trust, build authority, showcase business cases and use cases with your clients, right? As you just mentioned, and not any of the other channels that consultants typically go for. So, like, why the podcast specifically?
Well, because I use myself as the guinea pig when I'm thinking about what is the best strategy to reach an audience. And when I get hammered, I mean, daily, weekly, I mean, it never stops. Somebody's got a new mousetrap and an approach to do this and can guarantee me leads and can I don't pay anything unless this happens. I mean, it's just nonstop. But the podcast angle for me has benefited us because people have commented that, yeah, I watched you talking to so-and-so, and it really felt like it was an authentic situation and genuine. And I believed what the guy was saying, and then felt comfortable that you guys were, solid and trustworthy. And so I've used it to try to get our messaging across. You can't get across an email, can't get across in just a conversation the first time. They can physically see and evaluate for themselves, is this somebody I'd want to talk to?
Amen to that. Tell me more about how you move from all this to a conversation, a sales conversation, an SOW, a letter of engagement with rock and roll. How do we go from a testimonial on the SAP website, a piece of content on the website, to an actual deal? How do you guys see all about this? And as the CRO, obviously, I guess you have firsthand on this. So, like, how do you think about this, and how do you make it work?
We use every tool that we have to touch people, and we try to be creative as much as we can to get our messaging across, which is, our whole focus is we're really a boutique that really has white glove treatment. So, I can use an example of if you listen to the sports radio stations I listen to here in Dallas, Fort Worth, and, there's a car advertisement, an automobile dealership advertising, it's all day long. It never stops. And then there's one that sticks out because as an organization, they are constantly having a real live customer that's not been coached to talk about their experience and what it was like to go into the dealership. And that sticks out a little bit. Okay. And so we're not emulating them. We've been doing it before they were. But our thought process is that we can take something that is authentic and real, that people will not look at and go, well, that's AI, or those people are blowing smoke, or whatever the case may be. And we try to use it. So we, for example, will, if we're talking to someone that's the head of supply chain, okay, that has some real issues in his supply chain system, and considering, and we know it, for what it doesn't matter how we know it, and we're trying to break in the door, we will take the podcast. I've probably done a half a dozen with people that are in the supply chain, either as customer or as a thought leader or as an SAP solution architect, or whatever it might be, that I've interviewed myself, and we'll put that in an email and get it to them, tell them, just take a look, and that helps. And so we use the tools that we have to get it in front of people, to sell what we think is our most attractive attribute, which is, one, we know SAP. That's all we do. We don't do SAP and then also do, Oracle and these other things. Okay. We do SAP. And so what we want is people to, look at us and say, can I trust them? That's where we want to start, because if they don't trust us, then we're never going to even get to the plate with them. And so we try to use those tools to help with that by, if we send someone a case study and the customer is raving about us, it helps. We still need to talk to them and impress them, but that's, our approach is sort of, it's do anything that we can to get what makes us unique as an organization, to look good. So.
Amen to that. B2B podcasting masterclass just here. Thanks for sharing that. Talk to me about retention, because especially when it comes to software implementation and support, one might think, okay, cool, we need someone to support with these SAP S/4HANA rollout, right? Maybe sometimes it's even multi-years project, but then it's implemented. So then what? How do you guys think about retention, solving the next problem, and keeping clients, not to make the most out of them, but to optimize for clients' retention and eventually grow the practice?
Well, the biggest thing is that, I'm personally involved with all of our customers. I'm involved with our AEs, and I communicate personally to each prospect that hopefully becomes a customer, that what's most important for us is that we get an A+ in what we can control and deliver for you. And most importantly in that is that I want to be able to call upon you to give a testimonial as to what the experience was like, because it's one of our best techniques to get additional business. The success story that's on the website, that individual actually spoke to another customer of ours that we've had for a dozen years and basically sold the deal for us. It was the easiest process ever, because that manager created confidence with my other customer that was just now ready to embark on the same thing they had just done. And so it made it a far better process, because there was trust involved, and they're hearing firsthand what we did for somebody. The challenge is today is that you have C-level executives that are brought in to make decisions on, once if they choose the software SAP, that's one thing, but then they've got to choose the partner that is going to either implement it for them, or that is going to either they're getting away from customization on purpose, but it's somebody that can provide confidence and trust that they can do the work and make that C-level executive look good, or else their job's on the line. So it's it's the space that we live in, okay, doesn't have the name recognition that PwC or Accenture or NTT Data or some of the really, really big SIs have. Okay. So it's more of developing that relationship with the customer, of trust and confidence. And of course, there's benefits with us. We're going to be far more cost effective than those big guys. And our people are hands-on, and they're here in the United States. They're not in another country. So those are a few other components of what makes us unique. And so we have to make sure that we effectively sell all those things. All right. And we're not going to appeal to everybody. I mean, ExxonMobil's not going to hire us to implement a brand new SAP solution for them in another country. That's not going to happen. I mean, I can tell you right now, I'm not even going to go down that rabbit hole. But what will happen is there's plenty of people in the energy business that use us that we're a far better solution than what some of these really, really big organizations are that we compete with. And a lot of them, truthfully, a lot of implementations get messed up, and we sort of come in and after the fact and clean things up. We're doing about 3 of those right now. So it's a grassroots, it's a guerrilla warfare. It's whatever we have to do, utilize whatever testimonial, whatever reference that we have to use to get in the door. Once we get in the door, our goal is to stay in the door and continue to get confidence from one project to the next project to the next project. And that's sort of our model.
Staying in the door. I like it. I like the style, Dan. So let me ask you this, a bit of a curveball question, if you don't mind me. What's the number one challenge right now at IT services too? Like, what's the one nut that you guys are trying to crack that, once you crack, you take the whole thing to the next level?
Well, it's just, it's more new customers, period. Which I think for most people, we don't have an issue in execution. We don't have an issue in implementation. We have great consultants that work for us and support us. And we've got a good internal team, but anybody that wants to grow an organization, you want new customers. And so using those techniques we've already discussed is our approach. But of course, we would like to have new customers. So, I'm not sure. I'm not exact. I've got a pretty good feel for where this is going. But what I'll tell you is that, new customers that have needs. The problem is that SAP has changed so much, literally in 2 years. I'll give you an example. The term BTP, Business Technology Platform, been around since 18. It has 90 different services within it, and it has 6 pillars. Okay. Well, last year, they broke out several of those pillars and put it in a new product called Business Data Cloud. Which was new. So they separated out BTP from BDC. And part of the agentic AI is involved, and that's a whole complicated other story to tell you. Well, then I just came back from Sapphire, and I went to this boot camp I was telling you about in Montreal, and they have put those two back together. It created mass confusion in the market. Why are you separating BTP and making this new product called Business Data Cloud? It has DataSphere and SAC and some other products in it, but they separated them out, and that confused everybody. Well, SAP is notorious for that. Well, now in just such a short time, they've brought it all back under one roof, and now it's called the Business AI platform. So you now have BDC and BTP all back together again. Well, you have customers out there that they don't know what the heck's going on. And so it's very confusing. And what that has done is in some cases stymied organizations from making the move because they're just unclear of exactly what they're doing. And it's changing so fast. And AI truly is changing things very quickly. It's caused people to be they know they want to do something, but they pause because they're unclear. And going back to my example earlier, C-level executive is going to put their neck on the line. This is the right decision. And so many of them are still standing back going, let's just wait and see. Let's just wait and see. And so they're not doing anything. They need to, but they're not doing anything. So it's a challenge. And so new customers that are ready to move, we can help them with advisory. We can bring in and do assessments for them and demonstrate for them what the value would be. But it's still, they're trying to figure out how can I embark on a new project that's going to cost me a lot of money, and I need to understand my ROI. Well, if the technology is brand new, how can they demonstrate the ROI? It's it's chicken or the egg. So those are the challenges.
Dan McGrew, ladies and gentlemen. Dan, if people want to find out more about you, see what you do, or IT services too, where should they go?
It should. My email is dmcgrew, McGrew, at itservices, the digit 2, number 2.com. Our website is www.itservices2.com, and would love to talk to you if you're interested.
We will put all the links in the description. I can say one thing for sure, Dan, is that you've gained at least one new connection on LinkedIn out of this interview. Me, I'm just adding you. Thank you so much for coming on the Principal Podcast.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of the Principal Podcast. We hope you've learned valuable lessons and strategies to grow your firm and take your business to the next level. Make sure to subscribe and leave us a review wherever you're listening to this show so you never miss an episode. To apply and be a guest on the show, click the link in the description. See you next time.